Lucky Luck Gets chilling out right now in Getzfamous and to hang out with your boy Derrick Freeman, the entertainer. Straight pure D Deluxa. Amazing dude, super cool, way more than enough, and also the champion of Smokers World. So we're gonna kick it with Derrick Freeman. If y'all got some questions, y'all can opt in. We got the Q&A going on. So I'm gonna jump right into it right now with Derrick Freeman. First, Derrick, man, I want to ask you a little bit about what made you call the album Blurple Pain.
It's a great question. Actually, actually, it was totally by accident. Um, anyway, I called it Blurple Pain.
When you say by accident, like what do you mean by accident?
Well, Johnny Woodstock, who's he's a local radio host on WWOZ, and he also works at the Blue Nile. And we were having a late night session at the Blue Nile, chopping it up. The band Gravity had just got done playing, and me and Johnny were like they had these like sort of pretend conversations with each other to mess with the people around us, like all kind of racially offensive and sexist type conversations. And we were talking about something racial or something controversial, and my friend Marsha Dupuy, who's the girlfriend of my friend Drew, who plays in Gravity A, um, she heard us talking, and she was all like, she was like, "What you talking about?" She was like, "Y'all wrong," and blah blah blah. And I was like, and I said something about, I'm black people this, black people that, I'm doing my comedy routine basically, and she's like, "You're not that black." I was like, yeah, I'm not even that black. I'm regular black. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's a lot of people blacker than me. She was like, "You pretty black. You like blurple." And when she said it, I looked at Johnny. I was like, "That's hilarious." She had no idea that that was like a real word in like the community. You know what I'm saying? I think she just because of the lighting in the club, like my face was purple, so that's what she came up with. And I was like, "Oh, that's hilarious." I was like, "You have no idea what that means." She was like, "That's not even a word." And I was like, "No, that's some shit we used to say way back in the day." You know what I'm saying? Because black people is more racist, intermingle with each other than anybody else. You know how the whole light skin versus dark skin thing. We get into that shit.
Oh yeah,
And
yeah.
I was like, "You right." I, I was like, "Yeah, you right. I'm blurple." And I was like, and I feel the pain. It's my blurple pain. And right when I said it, I just looked at Johnny and I was like, "Dude, that's a great name for a record." And he was like, "That's hilarious." And then and I still wasn't gonna call it that, but it just stuck in my head a few months later when it's time to name the record. And I was like, and then I started looking up the meanings of the word because the Urban Dictionary has like 12 different descriptions of the word blurple. You know, so I just picked two of them out, and one of them, was about the slave who was so black he was purple, and they told him to show his teeth so they could see him, that whole shit. And then and most of the other descriptions were about the strain of weed, that's like purple weed or blurps or perps or whatever. So it all just seemed appropriate at the time. So
I think it was
that's how I came
totally
up with it.
genius. I think it was genius. And then now with that description, it really shows how you really took it into the album cover, which just looks like you just took yourself back into a history lesson to like bring something back and just educate some people. And I'll elaborate a little bit more on that once we go into some of the songs that just exudes it even more, you know. But
The funniest thing is that it took a while for people to start hiring me for gigs and stuff because people were just like, I would send them the album and they would look at the album cover and just freak out and be like, "Oh, this guy's crazy," or like, "There's no way I'm listening to this shit." And I realized the content of how strong the content of that record was. So once they finally listened to it months later, they're like, "Oh, we gotta hire this dude. We love this stuff." But I'll have to like email them a couple of times, like, just get over the cover. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's there for shock and awe, and yeah, and like you said, it's a history lesson. But once you listen to the music, you'll understand where I'm coming from. So some people, it just took them a minute to like get it, you know.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I thought it was. I really thought you were courageous, my man, to create an album cover like that. Um, it's definitely something that I mean, I go extremes when I do some things too, but because we live in such a visual place where people don't take the time to even understand what they're seeing, they just like automatically go off the rip of what they
Right.
think they see. I just thought it was like very courageous, and I commend you for it, brother. It's dope. I really like it. I actually can't even wait to see your next joint. Um, I gotta tell you how I heard it. I was in the studio with Tandre, and he was taking a break from his stuff, and he's
Uh-huh.
like, man, I gotta throw on this Freeman joint. You heard Freeman joint? And I said, nah. He popped it on, and I think he popped on the one where you was playing like that beat that you playing the drums, kind of like that Annie joint, short paper. And
Something
I
like that.
was like, holy smoke! And then I just
Yeah.
had to listen to the whole thing, bruh, and it was just like, oh my goodness, you know. I just was like, wow, I was totally blown away, you know. And there's a couple of things like I mean, I'm a guy that I kind of take knowledge from things, so there's a lot of knowledge in your album, brother. My next question is actually gonna hit on that. Why the Fallujah title as opposed to Beirut or you know.
Oh man. um, Man, that's a great question. You know, because well, you know, that song I had actually written in like 2006, um, and I was in the diaspora, stuck in Alabama after the storm, after Katrina, and you know, waiting to get instruments back and what have you. And the first thing I got was a keyboard, so I just started just laying tracks on a keyboard, just like you know all the strings and stuff you hear on that record. I just started laying them because this is what I was feeling coming from the heart. And then at the time, they kept talking about Fallujah in Iraq and then Kabul in Afghanistan. They kept talking about the insurgents and the insurgents and how all these people were refugees and they were insurgents and it just there was such like a parallel to me of how they were describing the citizens, United States citizens, by the way, of Louisiana, Mississippi, and it was just like, and I was just like, oh man, it's like these people don't get it, like, like that's us, like we're the insurgents, you know what I'm saying? Like that's how they see us right now, and it's so fucked up. And I mean, it just came to me because I'm like, you know, New Orleans is like a war zone, and we deal with this shit every day, and because it's a city, and like I guess everybody's so numb to it in the killings that like we we don't think of it on a scale like we think of everything else that happens in the Middle East and the wars that happen, but it's really the same. It's really the same destruction and despair, you know, that we deal with on an everyday basis in a American city. You know what I'm saying? So the comparison just seemed apropos to me. So
Yeah,
I don't know. I just went with Fallujah.
I can totally dig that. I totally dig that. Yeah, that was why I
Made
asked,
sense.
because it really seemed like uh, it seemed like one of them things where I used to compare it to Beirut, and that's why I was like, wow. Like when I first got to New Orleans, I went to Loyola, so that's what actually led me to New Orleans and to Calio, and I had never experienced a project like that. I mean, I had never experienced
Hmm.
I never thought projects could look so war zone-ish ever. I mean, I know there's the war zone mentality, there's the chaos and the
Yeah,
destruction, but when I
especially the Cali
saw,
looked like it got bombed out. Like looks like a drone hit
yeah,
it.
yeah, and I was like, and then not only that, but I spent the night there, and it was a different nightlife than I ever saw in a project. It looked like what you would see in a war zone kind of thing, you know? Like it looked like there was just now a picture on CNN of Syria, like when this war had first started. And also there's a painting in a Damian Moore video that I had did of the same depiction of this kind of destruction. And that was how the Calio looked. I mean, there was even abandoned buildings, like where 4 of them had barbed wire around it, where there's nobody living in, which to me is unheard of for nobody to be occupying one building in the projects for 3, you know. So that was why I had asked the question. I was blown away, and I never heard nobody put it in music the way you did. Like no one touches on it like that, you know. That was dope. You know what I'm saying? So what does "To the Nines" mean?
Well, you know, that song "Love to the Nines" is a Prince song. It's on the Prince album. I think it's called the Gold Experience. It was the first record where he presented the symbol. When I was at UNO, I had these giant like house speakers in my dorm, like these 6-foot freaking like clips house speakers, and I used to just jam out in my freaking room in the dorm. And that Prince album was one I played a lot. It was the same album that had "Sexy Motherfucker" on it and "Blue Light" and "Seven." But it's a very obscure song, a B-side on that record that nobody really paid attention to. It's something about the song always touched me, you know. And I figured since the song title was a play on Prince, that I needed to do a Prince song. But I didn't want to do a Prince song I would potentially get sued for. You know, I wanted to do one that I was pretty sure he would let me get away with covering.
Okay.
But you know, "To the Nines" basically, it, it's like it's just agape. It's just like you know, it's like love to the max, I guess. You know, the ironic thing is that you know the chord that we sing on that is a ninth chord. So it's very it's a brilliant. Some Prince shit is brilliant. It's a ninth chord, and he's singing to the nines. So it all made sense to me. And it had that like very sort of New Orleans-y tinge on it with the drums. So it's just something I wanted to cover for years. It seemed apropos to have a love song on this record since it was so deep. You know, I try to keep some like just real love on the record and not just like make it a whole history lesson, you know.
Okay. Well, I definitely had never heard that Prince joint you're talking about. Listening to the Nines is a great way for me to now go check it out. So thank you for that, my brother. I appreciate that. Well, one of the other things I wanted to ask you here is,
Thank you.
I hear a lot of people talk about like what inspired them and who inspired them, but I only knew you as a drummer. And I remember once you came to New York and you played and you hit me with your CD, and I was like, oh, I didn't even know the dude did the whole Barry White and everybody thing. But I found out more that you're an actor, you're a comedian, you're a drummer. Do you play any other instruments?
Yeah, I play mostly all the instruments. Um, I started as a piano player when I was a kid. You know, I played classical piano. Um, I played a little trumpet in junior high, and I played saxophone in high school and in college. I played a little saxophone in college, the UNO concert band. Um, Drums just always came more naturally to me. When I got to college, I mean, I really wanted to be a classical musician and go to Juilliard and all that. And then when that dream didn't happen, when I just came to UNO because they gave me a scholarship to play drums, so I started playing drums and like I just immediately started getting gigs. So it became more of like a means to an end. And then so it's always been weird to me when people call me a drummer because I don't really consider myself a drummer per se. I'm just more of an entertainer. But I mean, obviously, most people know me, you know, from playing the drums, which I don't really have a problem with. I just never really considered myself a drummer. It's one of those things. But I play all the instruments. I played a lot of the instruments on Blurple Pain. Um, I played bass on a couple of songs. I played keys on a couple of songs. Of course, I did all the singing and rapping. I did all the string arrangements, and dude, that's about it. I played vibes on one of the songs, so you know, I do all that shit.
All right, well, you're definitely gonna be forever known to me now as Derrick Freeman, the entertainer. I go by Lucky Luck,
I
the
like that.
entertainer. So you're gonna definitely, and it's for the same reasons. Um, I usually call people that do a range of things or a multitude of talented things. I call us deluxers. We just get up in it like the cream with two
Oh, I like
different
that.
cookies. You know. Um, what who was your musical inspirations?
Man, so many. I mean, early on, I'd say my biggest influence was Miles Davis and Art Blakey, without a doubt, and John Coltrane. Um, as I got a little older, um, Bob Marley was a big influence of mine. Then Chuck D, man. I think I was a senior in high school when I heard "Fear of a Black Planet." It kind of changed my life because I was a nerdy kid that listened to a lot of classical music and jazz music growing up, and wasn't really that into hip hop. I mean, of course, I knew about the LL Cool J and the Bell Biv DeVoe and all the other shit. I mean, I went to all the concerts in high school, but I never really listened to that shit. But Fear of a Black Planet changed my life, and Chuck D was the first guy I heard that that made me feel that same power that like I felt from Miles on the trumpet or Art Blakey on the drums through somebody's voice. You know what I mean? And that inspired me as an orator. You know what I'm saying? Or as a poet. Like, wow, you could like, you know what I mean? Because it hit me kind of like Martin Luther King would hit you. You know, you listen to a Martin Luther King speech and like the shit will just make you cry. You know, and like Chuck D did that to me. So a huge influence of mine. And then beyond that, then as I got to college, things start integrating more. So, I got more influenced by De La Soul and Tribe Called Quest, Diggable Planets, you know what I'm saying? Because the jazz, classical influence I had mixed with my newfound love for hip hop really, really changed me. Then the Roots came along, and that gave me a whole different perspective on how shit could be done with a live band playing music, but also being relevant to, today's standards. So, it goes a long way with me. But also, Richard Pryor is a huge influence of me, and
Okay.
Chris Rock. So I never separated any of those things in life. It was all one thing to me. So I guess that's why I am who I am now. Because like to me, like comedians and musicians and chefs and all that was all kind of the same thing to me. Like I didn't realize till later in life that these are all separate things. So I'm influenced by all that stuff.
Okay. I have to agree with you on that too, man. That was my next question was what comedians influenced you. Um, but yeah, I think Public Enemy kind of did the same thing to me with that whole Martin Luther King thing. When you started mentioning that, man, I started getting goosebumps and all kinds of stuff. I was like, whoa, you know what I'm saying? But what
Yeah.
actors influenced you too?
Um, Man, that's a great question. I mean, I guess you're typical. I mean, obviously, Denzel. I mean, it's not like we had that much growing up. I mean, I think we're all a fan of Denzel Washington and Wesley Snipes. Lawrence Fishburne.
Okay.
But actually, man, the guys I studied like I like the old guys. Like I'm a huge fan of Laurence Olivier, and I really like George Papard and Sidney Poitier, of course. Wow. And
Yeah.
just more recently, I guess I'm a big fan of Lawrence Tate. think that guy's underrated. I've been following his shit. And he inspires me in a lot of the roles he does. And but I think Don Cheadle is probably my favorite actor of all time.
Yeah, Don Cheadle is definitely in my top three favorite actors, man. Don Cheadle, I gotta go with Morgan Freeman, and I really like Danny
Oh,
Glover
Morgan,
too,
of
man.
course. My cousin. Huh?
That's your cousin?
We all cousins, the Freemans.
Alright.
Actually, all bullshit aside, I did find out I'm like somehow related to him because my father is originally from Memphis, and that's where the Freemans are from. Like, apparently, Morgan included. So somehow he's my third cousin or some shit, which I always said that as a joke, but I find out.
You kind of have like some of that personality that Morgan Freeman has too. You know, I watch this dude all the time. I love watching him on. Man, anything he do, I'm just like into it. You know what I'm saying? And he's a very intellectual dude. Yeah, y'all actually do have some similar personalities. So if you've never met him, I hope y'all get to meet each other and figure this out.
Yeah, I hope I get to meet him too. I recently did some work with Angela Bassett. It was amazing.
Tell me a little bit more about that.
It's for the show called American Horror Story that they're filming in New Orleans right now. I can't really say much more about that, but
Okay.
the point is, I got to work with Angela for 2 days, and it was like so inspiring. She's fucking amazing. She's beautiful, talented, just off the chain.
Well, congratulations to that, man. I can't wait to see that when it comes out. Tell me some of the other stuff that you have
Yeah.
done, some other film that you've been in, commercials. Just give me a little bit of that. I definitely want to check some of it out and perhaps even do a storify on you.
Um, yeah, man. I got let me think. My IMDb page is not really up to date because those things take a while to get updated. But um, I've done a lot of little independent movies here in the last couple of years. Um, this comedy that I was in that just it's in post editing. It was called Lucian Jenkins, but I think they changed the name of it, so I don't really know what it's called right now. But I did that last year, and that was a lot of fun. I got it was a comedy, and I got to play a gangster and like run around with a gun and scare white kids. That was a lot of fun. Yeah, my friend Yolanda Ross, she's a great actress. She's been in a lot of stuff. I met her on the set of Treme, and she did a movie called Breaking Night, which is a short that's won like multiple awards and she's been in every film festival this year. I was blessed to get a part in that, and hopefully I'm going to be in her feature next year. So I'm looking forward to that. And a lot of local productions. Like I was in Treme, obviously. Um, some other show. Jonah Hex was a movie I was in with Josh Brolin. I'm in Spike Lee's new joint where I play a crazy inmate in Old Boy. I got no lines. I'm just nuts in jail, which is fun. And your Zatarans commercials and all that bullshit. And let me think what else. A few other movies. I mean, it's sort of random. I was in this horror movie called Dark Circles, which was cool because the main character was a piano player, and I was like his band leader, so that was fun. And I was in a movie with Miley Cyrus, believe it or not, called So Undercover. She was an undercover agent in high school, and she had a few scenes where she sang with the band, and I was a drummer in the band, and that was fun. Got to hang out with Jeremy Piven, who was nuts. So it's been cool. I
Okay.
did an episode of House a couple of years ago in Los Angeles, so that was fun. You know.
Okay. Well, I know about a year ago or two, I ran into you in New York, and I believe you was here for some auditions, or you were
Mhm.
actually here to do something that you had made the auditions. Can you help me out here? Which was it?
I was just auditioning. Um,
Okay.
I've been there about 3 times audition. I never really got into parts, but I think HBO is real cool about keeping things in the family. I mean, if you watch a lot of HBO, they love to recycle actors. So fortunately for me, I got good with the casting agents and the people there. So every once in a while, they'll fly me up to do um, an audition. It's always so weird for me because like I walk into these auditions and there's all these actors I've been watching for years sitting there. I'm looking at them like, and they're looking at me like, "Fuck is this dude?" I'm like, is that the whole cast of The Wire? And I'm like, and I'm like, you know, this is crazy, and I'm like, how y'all doing? So, I've gotten more used to that, to walking in the auditions. And then, there's that one black dude that's in every commercial. I know you know what I'm talking about. He's real funny. He had an afro and he's recently cut his hair. But I see that dude every time. Like I
Wait,
go
he's
to New
from The
York.
Wire?
It's the black dude in every commercial. No, he's not in The Wire. He's just the black dude that's in every commercial. He's in a commercial now where he's like grilling and like the white dude shows up at his tailgate. He's been in all. I mean, I don't know who that dude's agent is, but that dude gets more work than everybody. Like, he will do nothing but commercials, but he always be working. I'm so jealous of that dude.
Well, do you use an agent or do you freelance or you freelance and get your stuff?
Yeah, I'm mostly freelance. I mean, I got some people that help me out down here called Boutique Talent Agency, but I mean, they don't really represent me, but they lead me in certain directions. Like my thing is, I'm always good at developing relationships. So every director I work with, I always keep in contact with them, and all the casting agents and directors, and by me having extra skill sets, it gets me to the front of the line on a lot of things. Like you'd be surprised on how many projects when they're like, "Oh, we need somebody that can play the drums." Or we need somebody that can act and sing. Or we need somebody that can tell jokes and act and sing. Or we need somebody that can tell jokes, act, sing, and play the drums. You know what I mean? So then next thing you know, I show up on set and I ain't have to audition. They're just like, yeah, yeah, he'll work, he'll work. Just get him, take him. So I mean, I found that most of that stuff works like that, um, which is like everything else in life. So I mean, I'm just about hustling and putting myself in the right situations. And you know me. I mean, me and you have those same qualities. Like once I meet a person, then they're gonna love me. And if
Totally.
they hate me, they're gonna hate me forever. But more than likely, they're gonna love me.
Yeah, I can totally dig it. I totally could dig it. Um, how did you formulate this cast of musicians with Quickie Mart and Mappersan Peoples? Or did I say that wrong? Is it Mappersan or is it just M at Peoples?
It's just Matt Peoples. Yeah, he's just more clever than he needs to be. Again, man, that's just the same.
All right, we love Derek. Oh, I was
Can you hear
asking,
me
how did
now?
you formulate this cast of musicians with Jess Hudak and D Lamb, Sean? I think I met Kang at uh, Parliament Funkadelic joint, and then later on and other things, I met Chris One Eye Willie, and I know him. Like, how did you formulate this cast, and what made you pick these people? And I also met Corey Henry too. So, I want to know like what made you pick these people. And the name Jason Butler rings a bell. I think I may have met him, but I want you to elaborate on this. Like this cast, like it's such a great cast of people that you have. And even if a lot of people don't know them all over the world and they hear this album, they have to think that these people are just the bomb.
Yeah, man. Again, I'm blessed to have very talented friends, and just like I was saying in the acting world, like I take all my relationships very seriously. Like when I meet people that I respect, I make sure they know how much I respect them. I appreciate the work that they do, and I show them love. Like I mean, a lot of people will tell you I'm the most, I'm like the most, um, what's the word I'm looking for? Not outgoing, but I go out a lot. Like, and I really like checking out other music. And like, besides me playing music, 4 or 5 nights a week, when I'm off or if I play an early gig, I always go check out other stuff of all genres. I mean, anything from like Gal Holiday and the Honky Tonk Band to like Gravity A, which is like funk electronica, or to like Big Frida. You know what I'm saying? I might go see all three of those bands in one night. You know what I'm saying? And it's just one of those things where like I just have so much respect for the musicians in this city that like and I think they can just see the genuine love and respect I have for them, and so people just want to, or I gotta work with that cat, or I gotta work with that chick. You know what I'm saying? And then I try to do my best to make it happen. And as far as like Quickie Martin, those guys that are younger than me, I think they just remember like when they were in high school and stuff when I was doing crunk and we were inspiring them. You know, because crunk was such a hybrid band. I mean, you had a band of jazz musicians, basically jazz nerds that was playing, you know, rock and funk and hip hop and like really popular music back then. So I think we was inspiring to a lot of people in that way. Um, so me, like I said, it's just I'm always thinking about the next project. So if I go see somebody, I'm immediately like, okay, how can I do a song with her or him, and who would she fit with best? And like, oh, okay, I gotta get her on this song, get him on that. Blah. So I'm just like always formulating projects and ideas. So that's just how it happens. And then I'm just blessed and lucky that when I ask them to do stuff, they're willing to do it. So you know
Okay.
that's why I can never move. I mean, you
Okay.
know, people try to get me to move to New York for 10 years, and I'm like, as much as I would, you know how much I love New York, but I'm like, man, I don't know. It just doesn't happen anywhere else for me like it does here. I guess it's like really family. So I'm blessed.
Yeah, well, I was going to touch on a question that actually reflected on that answer a little bit. I was going to say, um, I know you're from Texas originally, am I right?
Yep.
Now, how does it feel being from Texas and adopted by New Orleans? Because that's pretty much what happened. Am I correct? I think New Orleans just does that to everybody. It adopts you, and you have to adopt it back.
Yeah, I mean, well, that's true, but the scene I came up with in New Orleans, the Treme scene, the traditional jazz scene, the brass band scene, they're actually not that accommodating to outsiders. So I'm still trying to figure out how or why I was able to ingratiate myself in that so deeply. I mean, I guess they just saw the real genuine love and the real genuine love that I had for the culture and the music, you know. And like, you know, and I've researched, of course, and of course I have like older generations of my family that are from here or this area or from the bayou or whatever. So I mean, I guess all that is in me too, you know, which I never realized growing up in the big city of Houston, which is it's similar to New Orleans in some ways, but most of it is so different that it's weird. And a lot of the guys I went to high school with, because I went to art school, we all jetted immediately. Like most of those guys went to Boston or New York or Los Angeles or Chicago, and for some reason I ended up here with aspirations to go to New York or Boston or Chicago, and 21 years later I'm still here. So there it is.
Okay. You had you how big is your family? I want to. You don't have any children, do you?
No, no children, just a wife and a dog, a stinky dog.
All right. This is a pretty sensitive question that I'm gonna ask, but I have to ask this question, and it's
Okay.
about Hurricane Katrina. So if you don't want to have a question about Hurricane Katrina, I'm really cool with that, and you won't have to answer. But the question is, what was something that you saw, felt, or did during Hurricane Katrina or post Hurricane Katrina that restored hope for you in in this life that we have.
Wow. That's a great question because it took a while for me to have hope again. That's for sure. Um, I think I think it was about maybe 2.5, maybe like 10 weeks after the storm. I played a gig at the Bank Street Bar in Mid City. I played a gig at the Bank Street Bar with Rebecca Berry, who's a saxophone player that lives in Alabama. She's from Alabama, but she was here during Katrina, moved back to Alabama.
I think I went to
I played
university
a
with
gig
her.
with her, and they had no power in the bar. Yeah, you did. Um, they had no power in the bar. Like they just had it all lit up by candlelight, and um, they had the sound system plugged up to a generator. So like we were literally playing a gig by candlelight, and the bar was packed full of like workers and people like that. And I think it was at that moment when I was like, damn, like this means a lot to people. You know what I'm saying? To be able to come out and drink a beer and listen to music, even though we're surrounded by like, and Bank Street was literally the only thing open within 30 blocks either direction. So it was strange, but I think it was at that moment when I was like, damn, we might actually come back to something eventually.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, I think
Wow.
there was a lot of crying during that time.
Well, I there was a few people in New York that had gotten stranded here. They didn't even come to New York after the hurricane. They were kind of here and couldn't go back. And so I saw a
Yeah,
world of emotion that I've never seen with my own eyes before. That was something that you think you can only feel through just like some spiritual stuff, and I felt it in true physical form by just seeing some of my friends from New Orleans here, and I saw them restore hope to each other over the phone. It was just an amazing camaraderie and an amazing love that I saw. And it also almost seemed like a prophecy for me of something that I've always dreamed of as a kid, to see people unified on both these fronts, north and south. I, I saw it at Hurricane Katrina with so many things, but I also at the same time saw some of the most disrespectful things happen to people, and I'm not talking about just in New York. And I saw how they were treated, and it made me feel more special about deciding to go to Louisiana. It helped me see that this dream that I had of, I don't know, for some reason I feel like our spirit, that's the closest place that we can come to our African ancestors, is in New Orleans. And I felt it. I felt it like in my blood. Sometimes when I'm down there, I feel like I'm walking around and there's spirits in the atmosphere hanging out, waiting for people like us to come, you know? So I feel like you guys got a lot of that, and you guys exude it.
like we were talking about a few minutes ago. I think like getting drawn to it is part of the thing. Like it's out of your control. Like you know what I mean. Like when I came, it was just like it's like my counselor, my mama, and them like look, um, like University of Texas is too expensive. They don't give you enough money. Like you're not going to Boston. You're definitely not going to Hawaii. Like get that out of your head. Like Michigan, where the hell's Michigan? Like Oberlin. I'm like, where's Oberlin? They're like in Ohio. I'm like Ohio. I don't know. They're like, okay, look, UNO just gave you a full scholarship. Like you getting your ass in the bus and you going to New Orleans. I'm like, all right, whatever. I'm like, I'm moving to New York. Don't care what you say. I'll go there for a year or two, whatever. With no clue as to what New Orleans had to offer. It's just like, you know how it is. You 17, 18, like it's where you're gonna go. You know, the people giving you a scholarship. So, you go ahead and go get your ass in the school. You know what I'm saying? Unless you want to go to the desert. I mean, that was my other option. I could have went to the Desert Storm like the rest of the cats in my neighborhood. You know, which I was that close to joining the Navy because I didn't know any better. Thank God I had a counselor that was like, they give scholarships in music, right? I was like, wait, really?
Oh,
Like,
wow. Yeah.
I'm like, oh, okay, cool. I thought you had to play football. Like, be a straight A student to get a scholarship. I didn't realize, you know what I'm saying, because nobody don't educate you, you know, about that type of stuff. You know,
Yeah,
even though I was
totally,
going to
man.
art school, I still didn't really know, you know. So that's how it happened. And then I just got drawn to the neighborhoods, and then it was over after that. Yeah.
Oh, okay. We got cut off during one of the questions, and it was the question where I was asking you that I hear a lot of people say that they come from nothing, and they develop these mind frames of coming from nothing when they begin their excursions and their endeavors and they start exploring the world. But and when I say come from nothing, I mean that's for you to understand what it means to you. But I mean it as source. What is your source like? You know, like I said, a lot of people say they come from nothing, and I don't think a lot of people realize what they mean when they say nothing. I think we all come from something. I don't think
Yeah, you know what?
no.
I never, I never really felt like that actually until I got older and realized how much I didn't have when I was younger. Because I had so much love. You know, my mother was so smart. Like she kept me involved in so many things. Like I said, I went to art school with rich white kids from the suburbs and some brothers from the hood. But also, you know, I grew up in the church. I played drums in the church. I played little league baseball and football, and I always went to camp. And I got to do all this stuff. You know what I mean? When I was younger, so I never really even realized that we had nothing till I was older and realized what it took to survive. You know, as a human, as an adult in the world, and that gave me grand perspective on like wow, like love really does conquer things. Like because if you're a child that's loved, like you don't even realize how much you don't have, you
Yeah,
know. So I never really felt like I came from nothing. That's you never really hear me say that because I never really felt that way. You know what I'm saying? I always felt like I was somebody special, based on the situations that were presented to me when I was younger. So and my mother gets the 200% of the credit for that. You know what I'm
you're
saying?
right.
She just made me realize that I was a special person.
That's awesome. And you're right. I never heard you say that, which is why I actually asked you that question because I hear so many people say it. So many people that have things, or I hear people
Yeah.
justify their motives with that. And it wasn't until I got to Loyola, man, that I realized the same thing. I got to Loyola and I'm up there with all these rich kids and everyone's living problem free and I'm like, oh man, if my bank account runs out before I can finish school, what am I going to do? Like it took me years to pack bags and do all this fun stuff to decide to go to college with this money as opposed to buy a motorcycle or a car. But it was the experiences in my life too that it was love, bruh. It was just love. I just felt so much just because I had love and I was able
Well,
to
it was
express it,
yeah.
you know?
We had some because it was like that for me. You don't know, like some kids just had cars and they just had to go to school. You know what I'm saying? And I mean, they didn't really have to stay on campus. They just did because it was provided for them. But I mean, like I was the dorm barber. I was the weekend janitor at the dorm. I worked in the financial aid office.
Okay.
I worked in the equipment room at the gym. Like I had like 5 jobs when I was a freshman in college, and I just thought like that's what you're supposed to do. Like you're in college now, you're supposed to work and hustle. Like so, I realized like people were like, why you got so many jobs? I'm like, you ain't got a job? They're like, no, nigga, we in school, but you gotta work. I'm like, oh, okay. Like I just thought that's what you're supposed to do. I didn't know.
No, I feel you on that. The
I'm like, well, how
same
the
thing
hell?
here.
I'm like, how am I eat if we don't work? They're like, what do you mean? Like, your parents are sending you money. I'm like, yeah, that's not gonna happen.
Oh man. Well, what are you planning your next album yet?
Yeah, man, I'm going to the studio tomorrow actually to work on the second song. I recorded one song already. I think I'm just gonna do an EP. It's only gonna be about 6 or 7 songs, but
Okay.
I'm trying to raise the funds to do it now. I raised about 1,600 on Indiegogo, which was awesome.
Okay.
But I'm in the process of trying to get a grant from these people called the Threadheads. So hopefully that'll go through.
Well, if I
But
can offer
either
a
way, I'm
bit
gonna
of
grind it out.
if I can offer a bit of advice that I've been seeing people who have major success, why don't you try and start a Kickstarter, my brother? Spike Lee is definitely on that
Yeah,
Kickstarter. He just raised a
Indiegogo.
couple million.
Yeah, Indiegogo is basically the same thing as Kickstarter. The only difference is if you don't raise all the money, Indiegogo still gives it to you. So I did that, and I raised about 1,600. And like I said, right now I'm in the process of trying to get this grant from these people called the Threadheads who have recorded a lot of albums for Louisiana artists. But if I don't get the grant, I'm probably gonna go Kickstarter. Um,
Okay. Well,
but with the money I
definitely.
already raised, I'm gonna go ahead and record another couple of songs while I'm waiting.
Okay. And do you have an idea of who you're going to use on your album this time? Do you have any features in mind so far?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Are you a fan of
Yeah.
I lost audio?
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
I say, yeah, a few people have already. I mean, obviously, all the people I already worked with on the last record. Some of them are going to be on it, most of them. But like I said, Nicholas Payton agreed to do a song with me, so I'm looking forward to recording with him. He's somebody I've known since I moved to New Orleans, but never really got a chance to work with. So I'm excited about that. And a lot of the usual suspects, Chris Royal, Corey Henry, Mike Dillon. My friend Pat Sansone from the band Wilco, he's going to do a song with me, and I'm super excited about that. And I got a few other people I'm going to try to get, but it's going to require um, me getting this grant because there's some cats I need to fly in and the whole thing. So, I'm ambitious when it comes to that type of stuff. Like, I mean, what I learned over the years is most people just have to be asked. You know what I'm saying? Like, people, there's a lot of artists that people deem untouchable, and if you just ask them, like, hey man, would you do this song with me? Most like 80% of the time, they're like, man, I would love to do it. So I set my goals high when it comes to that. So there's a lot of surprises to come on the next record for sure.
Okay. Now, with somebody of your stature that's been doing music and been involved in music for so long, and someone who's been around before this new way of doing music, how do you feel about this this new freedom, this new do-it-yourself way that we're just able to say, you know what, I'm just gonna go wake up tomorrow and go do this. I don't have to wait for a big budget. I don't have to wait for a label. I don't even have to shop anything anymore. How does this new way of being able to do enter show business like make you feel? How does it feel? What do you think about it?
Yeah, it's good and bad because, well, it's awesome because, like, yeah, you say you come up with an idea and then you just go lay it down. Back in the day when everything was analog and you had to buy tape and get an engineer and all this other shit, um, it stifled you more. But I think that the stifling did something to your artistry. Like, it really made you like develop songs and really learn, the song and what you want to do with it. Now, like, you just spew out ideas like out the faucet, and so some of the quality of the work has gone down. You know what I'm saying? There's more quantity or just less quality. So it's a fine line with using your musicianship and your expertise along with the technology to make sure you don't get caught up in the well, I'm gonna just put this out. Because a lot of tracks I hope like there's like 4 tracks I didn't put on Blurple Pain for that very reason. Like, cause like it's like damn, this is just some shit that doesn't fit, but it just isn't like an idea I had one day in the studio, went laid it down, you know what I'm saying? But then like you listen to the album as a whole, you're like the song doesn't really make any sense to go on the record. So you have to be in control of your art in that way and make sure you don't get out of hand with just spewing shit out as it comes to you. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I
But
totally
it's
agree.
a good luxury to have to be able to just like get an idea and go lay it down. I mean, obviously.
Now, have you ever had any major labels interested in you at all at any aspect at any level?
Not lately. I mean, when we were doing Crunk, we had a lot of. buzz and labels after us. But we were just too young and stupid to realize it. And then, and there was situations where they would approach some of us. They'd be like, "No, we want to just sign you, or we want to just sign him. We want to sign the rest of y'all." We were just not smart enough at that time to take advantage of those situations, which was sad. But
What
even a
was
few
some?
years ago, I had some offers for some labels, but I just wasn't ready yet because I just wasn't ready to go on the road and stuff. And now that I'm ready, like labels don't exist, so what are you gonna do?
What were some of the other bands that you were a part of?
I was in all that. We actually had a record deal. When I was in that band, um, but we had problems in the band. Drugs, alcohol, egos, women problems, embezzling, the whole nine, everything.
Isn't that
All
just
the
the
shit,
problem
all
in the
the
music business, though?
VH1 behind the yeah, all the behind the music VH1 shit happened, and then that shit went by the wayside quick.
Okay.
Also,
And
I was in Cool Bone too, and Cool Bone had a lot of the same thing. Cool Bone was on Hollywood Records, big budget, big tours. You know, on tour with Tribe Called Quest, Wyclef Jean, David Byrne, and all these other people, but same thing. Embezzling, egos, family, just women, the whole thing. Just yeah, it was a disaster. I look
what?
back on that time, as education. I mean, because I don't know if I'd have got all the money and got famous when I was younger, if I'd have been able to handle it anyway. Like I don't know if I would be alive now. So I mean, it's probably a blessing for me not to be involved with that.
So tell me a little bit about just like some
Yeah.
of your plans for the business and smoker world uh as a whole, as a movement.
I mean, as a movement, it's growing. I mean, my approach now is to like be extremely patient and extremely methodical. I mean, one, the band just being me and whoever I choose it to be is made life better. I mean, it's hard to function as a democracy or as a group in these situations. So me being the sole proprietor and the only person in charge makes life a lot easier when it comes to making decisions for the band. I mean, I just really started to get out on the road. I mean, I played a couple of shows in New York already. I played the Cutting Room and at the Brooklyn Bowl, and I think I'm playing at Brooklyn Bowl again in the wintertime. And I went out on the West Coast with the band, and that was awesome. And I'm planning on going to the Midwest in the wintertime, which is a crazy time to go to the Midwest, but you got to go where you can go.
Okay.
So, like I said, it's just about being patient, methodical, hitting the right places, hitting the right festivals, doing the right interviews, on the right shows, letting the right people hear me. I've been blessed too with that. Like I've been High Times interviewed me twice, which is a dream come true.
Reading
My
about
friend Jen,
smoker
who's like one of
musicians.
the editors at
Okay.
well, they have a great online site too. And I did it. Danny Danko was one of the guys who works there. He has a show called Free Weed that I did last year. I think I'm on episode 17 of that, and that was awesome. And my friend Jen Bernstein, who was one of the editors of the magazine, she has a podcast called Jen's Music Stash, and I believe I'm on the next one coming up because when I was in New York in July, I went to High Times and did an interview with her. She's a blessing, man. And I got interviewed by Downbeat Magazine and San Francisco Chronicle, and of course the Offbeat Magazine in New Orleans. So the Village Voice did a piece on me. So it's been a blessing.
Oh, that's beautiful. That is really, really beautiful. When can we expect you back in New York? When's the next time you're headed up this way?
It's gonna be in January or February. So when it's
Okay.
cold, just get out. A
Mobile
whole winter
carrier.
tour in the Northeast and the Midwest and the West Coast actually, which
Oh,
I'm sort of
sweet.
not looking forward to for the weather.
Who's your favorite mobile carrier?
But Well, uh, well, I guess Sprint, because that's what I'm with. I mean, I'm kind of jealous of my Verizon people, but which I guess is my next step because I've been with all of them. So I guess I'm gonna jump to Verizon whenever Sprint pisses me off, which will be sometime in the next week or two, I'm sure.
As a musician and a working musician and a producer, what is your favorite app, mobile app for productivity?
Hmm. Um, I mean, I like Reason. I like Ableton. Um, I mean, Pro Tools, obviously. I mean, I guess it's not really an app. There's an MPC app now that I've been really trying to check out that I'm gonna download and start trying to use. But I like all the shit. I like GarageBand. I use all that stuff as far as making music. As far as like listening to music, I'm a big fan of Pandora and Rhapsody. Uh, Spotify, I'm not a huge fan of just because they're currently raping me. It's another story.
Yeah.
Um, and SoundCloud, obviously.
Yeah,
Huge
I
fan of
love
SoundCloud.
SoundCloud. Yeah, I love SoundCloud.
Yeah.
If you can create your own app, what would the name of it be and what would it do?
um, wow, damn, that's a great question. I mean, I guess I would call it Smoker's World just because it's the thing I identify the most with. It would do. It would. It would be like a. It would be like the Onion or something, or like the Daily Show. Like it would take, the day's events and turn them into musical theater or comedy, and it would be my take on current events um, through the voice of Mr. Smoker, comedian, musician.
Do you have a favorite Daily Show episode?
And maybe about a year or two ago, Wyatt Cenac, who I met by the way, that guy is freaking hilarious.
Like that, are you a fan of the Colbert Report also?
Yeah, I'm a fan of all those shows, man. The Daily Show, the Colbert Report, Totally Biased. I mean, I was a huge fan of the Chocolate News. I'm sad they took that shit off. And I still love Saturday Night Live. I mean, Saturday Night Live is still one of my favorite shows um, to this day. Like, I try to watch it as much as possible. I'm a huge fan of all shows like that,
Okay.
big time.
Now, when you create your merchandise, because I know you're going to create a shirt with the word Flaggots on it. Can you be sure that I get one?
Yes, I'll definitely get you one of those.
All right, that is my word of, I don't even know how long it's gonna be my word, but I love that word. You know, after 9/11, we
Yeah,
had all these people talking about flag wavers and all
right,
this
because
stuff.
everybody knows what it means. Everybody knows what it means. It's the only way. It was the only word I could figure out to describe what I meant by that. You know what I'm saying? Flaggotry. You know what I'm saying? Flaggotism.
Yeah,
And somehow everybody gets that. You know what I mean? So yeah, it's one of my favorites too. It's definitely in the Blurple dictionary for sure.
it is definitely genius. And you have the Blurple dictionary online at all?
No, but that's a great idea.
I
I
I
think
can't.
we need to get on that
Yeah,
immediately.
yeah. We've been on for about an hour. I'm gonna wrap it up. Do you have anything that you want to say? Or you have any shows coming up you want to let anybody know about? Or just do you want to share something with some people?
I'm playing at Blue Nile on the 11th next Friday, and then I'm playing the 12-mile limit on the 26th. I'll be on the East Coast, Midwest, and West Coast in the wintertime, so just look out for me. Make sure you check out my website, DerrickAFreeman.com, and that'll give you all the updates. I'm pretty good at update my Facebook page, my YouTube channel, and all that. So, I mean,
All right, well,
it's
look,
awesome
man.
to be on with you. Big
Thank you, brother.
Lucky!
Yo, this is Derrick Freeman, y'all. Derrick Freeman, the entertainer for Smokers
Thank
World.
you.
I'm your boy Lucky Luck Getz for Getz Famous. We giving, we sharing, and we recognizing. And Derrick Freeman, the entertainer, is a real champion. Yo, Derrick, man, thanks again for coming on the show. I look forward to talking to you again. I can't wait to see you the next time you're in New York. And keep up the good work, champion.
Appreciate you, dog. Love you, man.
Love you too, God. Yo, I'll holler at you in a little bit. Peace.
All right. Peace.